Good day, everyone. I hope you are all good and welcome back to our channel. So, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the questions or short questions that you can expect for your May June examination for paper 2 Business Studies Grade 12. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like, and also click on the notification button so that you can be notified every time when we upload a new video. And if you have classmates who you believe will also benefit from this video, you can share the link with them so that they can join on and also benefit. So let's get started. So paper 2 topics are business ventures and business roles. So under business ventures, we have business management and leadership. We have investment, which focuses on securities. We have insurance. We have forms of ownership with the focus on how they can contribute to the success or failure of a business. And also, we have presentation and data response. And under business roles, we have ethics and professionalism. We have creative thinking and problem solving. We have CSR and CSI. We have human rights, inclusivity, and environmental issues. And we also have team performance assessment and conflict management. So you get to answer questions that you understand better. So you get to choose. Let's say you understand business ventures or topics that are under business ventures than the topics that are under business roles. It means that when you are preparing for your exam, you must study more of the topics of business ventures because those are the topics that you will choose in the question paper to answer on. So the business study question paper, it has options. For example, they will tell you you can choose to answer this question or you can choose to answer question in section B, you can choose to answer this question on business ventures, or you can choose to answer this question on business roles. So if you studied more of business ventures, then it means that you'll be able to answer more questions that are based on business ventures. But there is also a question that includes both business ventures and business roles, and that one is compulsory for you to learn, which means that you cannot only focus on business ventures and ignore business roles totally. You can focus on business ventures if you understand it better, but also know business roles. You might not focus on it, but also know so that when they ask anything that has to do with creative thinking, problem solving, you are able to answer. But focus more on the question that you are going to be answering more on. So we're going to start by looking at some questions or short questions that you can expect under business ventures on management and leadership. So on management and leadership, they can ask you to distinguish between management and leadership, like to differentiate. And they can also ask you to apply or to discuss the application and the impact of the 5 leadership styles in the workplace. They can also ask you about the 3 leadership theories. So we are firstly going to look at how to distinguish management and leadership. So before we go into this, I want us to look at the question paper. Previous question paper, we're just going to look at one to see if it's actually worth it to study management and leadership. Are there questions that are based on this topic in the business studies grade 12 paper 2? So let's go there. So you can see this is the structure of the question paper. Section A is compulsory. Section B, you get to choose to answer two questions. So these three questions, it will be one question would be totally based on business ventures, and the other question will also be totally based on business roles. And the third one is going to be a mixture of business roles and business ventures. So you get to choose between the question that is totally based on business roles and the other one that is totally based on business ventures. And then you write the one that is a mixture of both the topics. And then we know that section C is our essay question, and you choose to write one. Okay, so for remember, we're looking at whether it's worth it to study management and leadership. So already here, the first question you can see that it speaks of it. They're asking you a question that is based on leadership styles, which means that yes, they are definitely going to ask you questions based on leadership. I want us to actually go to section B. So here it's a question based on leadership theories. So they are saying identify two leadership theories applied by this business. So it means you need to know the leadership theories. And here they are saying discuss the role of personal attitude in successful leadership. And here they're also asking a question that is based on leadership. So I believe we have seen that they are definitely going to ask you questions based on leadership and management. They might not be the same as the one that we just saw now, but they are going to ask questions based on leadership and management. So let's go back to our slides. So the difference between management and leadership is that the role of management is to control a group of individuals in order to achieve a specified objective. And leadership is the ability of an individual to influence, to motivate, and to enable others to contribute to the organization's success. So the manager controls, the leader influences, motivates, and inspires others to do the work that is expected. So when you differentiate between management and leadership, you can say that management refers to the act of getting people together to accomplish desired goals and objectives using available resources effectively, efficiently, and effectively. And with leadership, leadership refers to the process by which a leader guides, inspires, and influences the behavior and the work of employees in pursuit of the organization's goals. So here we're going to look at like the differences in more detail, which is a leadership or a leader leads by inspiring and motivating employees. And then a manager manages processes by using their authority. They are managing or they are controlling. Um, Leaders provides guidance and direction to employees. Managers use instructions in their approach when dealing with employees. Leaders promote creativity to improve production levels. Managers follows the plans to reach targets. Leaders focuses on the vision and mission of the organization, whereas managers focuses on organizational targets. And leaders focuses on the potential of employees, whereas managers focus on the processes involved in the production process. Leaders influences the actions of employees, whereas a manager controls the actions of employees. Leaders can be creative, um, and innovative when dealing with challenges. Managers administers plans as set out by top management. Leaders are people orientated, and they are putting their employees first. Whereas managers are task orientated, ensuring that the job gets done. So I believe with that, you understand more of the difference between a leader and a manager. The manager controls, and the leader inspires and motivates. So now we're going to look at different styles of leadership, and the first one is democratic. So I would want you to remember the word democracy when you see democratic leadership style. So the word democracy comes from Greek words, which is demos and kratos. So demos means people, and kratos means power. So we can say now that the word democracy basically means the power of people. So this leadership style or democratic system believes in allowing people to have um, rights in making decisions, or it gives people the power to make decisions. So when we speak of democratic leadership styles, it means the leader allows people, the leader believes in the power of people, the leader believes in the employees, the leader believes that employees can make decisions. So for your first point under democratic leadership style, or when you describe or you discuss democratic leadership style, you can say a democratic leader involves employees in the decision making process because this leader believes in people. The leader realizes that there is power within the collective input of individuals. And then we have autocratic leadership style. So the word autocratic refers to demanding that people obey completely without asking or caring about anyone else's opinion. So this is basically the opposite of democratic leadership style. Democratic leadership style believes in people. It believes in the leader believes in the employees. Whereas autocratic, it's the main person, the only ruler, the only person that says, this is how we are going to do things, and no one should question it. So, an autocratic leader does not involve employees in the decision making process. And employees are told what to do and must execute the decisions of the leader without questioning his or her decision. So here it's just the difference between democratic leadership style and autocratic leadership style. So with democratic leadership style, the leader invites employees to be part of the decision making process, whereas the autocratic leader makes all decisions, and the democratic leader opens communication between himself or herself and the employees. Whereas with the autocratic leader, employees are told what to do and how it must be done. Democratic leadership style is people orientated and takes into consideration the opinions of employees, whereas autocratic leadership style is task orientated and focuses on result and not employees. So basically, you can see the difference between the two in more detail. So I wanted to move on to the next leadership style without wasting any more time. Moving on to the third leadership style, which is laissez-faire or free reign. So the word free speaks of freedom, and the word reign speaks of ruling. So this leadership style means that the leader gives the employees the power to rule or the freedom to rule. So for this leadership style, you can say that the leader delegates decision making to employees that he or she trusts. The leader separates himself or herself from the decision making process and allows employees to make decisions in the best interest of the organization. So here the leader fully trusts the employees and allows the employees to make decisions. So with democratic leadership style, the leader involves the employees in decision making. But with free reign, here the leader excludes himself from decision making and allows the employees to make decisions. So the fourth leadership style is charismatic leadership style. So the word charismatic can be used to describe a person who has charisma. So charisma or a person with charisma, we can say that a charisma it's an individual's ability to attract and influence other people. So basically, when we speak of charismatic leadership style, it's a leadership style where the leader attracts and influences and inspires people that they are working with. A charismatic leader uses his or her personality and charm to influence the behavior and actions of employees. Employees are inspired by the energy and keenness of the charismatic leader or the eagerness of the charismatic leader. Um, the last leadership style is transitional leadership style. So when we speak of transition, when we're making transition, you think of buying and selling. So basically, the transitional leadership style it can be compared with, or we can say, transitional relationship. So when we speak of a transitional relationship, it's a relationship where one or a person does something for the other person, expecting the other person to do something to them, or they are doing something, expecting something in return. Yeah, so that's transitional leadership style. So here you can say that this a transitional leader uses rewards and punishments to drive employees towards business goals and targets. The transition leaders focus on the results and performance of employees to measure their effectiveness in terms of the goals of the organization. So, as I said, that in a transitional relationship, one does something expecting something in return. So, a transitional leader can reward employees or punish employees in order for them to receive what they want in return. So here we're going to match the leadership styles with the correct answers. So democratic leader, uh, let's try to find the answer. Responsibilities are delegated to employees with little or no instructions. No. Uses their personality and charm to influence, no. Relies on their own knowledge and skills, no. Rewards the leaders who achieve their targets, no. All decisions are taken by the leader, no. Invites employees to provide input when making decisions, when decisions are made. So this is the democratic leader. The leader invites employees in the decision making process. The leader wants the inputs of the employees. Unlike A, which says the responsibilities are delegated. So in democratic, the leader does not delegate but involves the employees in decision making. Autocratic leader uses their charm, relies on their own knowledge, skill, and past experiences to empower himself or herself. The one that we did not. All decisions are taken by the leader without employee involvement. So the correct answer for autocratic is E, because it says all decisions are taken by the leader without employee involvement. So here, the leader does not involve employees in decision making. So don't confuse, there might be some answers that are very similar to a leadership style, which means you must carefully read. Like this one, you might think that this one is a correct answer for charismatic, because the leader relies on their own knowledge, skills, and past experiences. But see here, it says to empower himself. But this leadership style, the leader makes decisions without involving employees. And then laissez-faire or free reign, it A says responsibilities are delegated to employees. So remember, the leader here gives employees the freedom to make decisions. So number 8 is the correct answer for laissez-faire. And charismatic leader uses charm. So here says uses their personality and charm to influence the behavior and actions of employees. Is this correct? We also have another answer here which includes charm. It says uses his or her personality and charm to advance his career. This one cannot be correct. So the correct one is this one. So with transitional leadership style, we have an answer which says rewards the leaders who achieve their targets. And we also have a similar answer which says employees who achieve their targets are rewarded. So the correct one is employees who achieve their targets are rewarded. Moving on to the impact of leadership styles, we have both negative and positive impacts of leadership styles, which are the advantages and the disadvantages. So, the advantages of democratic leadership style is that leaders do not have to rely on their own knowledge and skills, and employees are able to participate in decision making process. The disadvantages of this leadership style is that the leader may not be in the position to take decisions immediately, since they also rely on the employees, because the employees are also involved in the decision making. So the leader cannot just jump and say, this is how we're going to do it. They need to sit down with the employees and come up with the decision, or a collective decision. So another disadvantage is that leaders could delay to make decisions, which is basically um, the same as the first disadvantage, because now the leader cannot just wake up and say, this is what we're going to do. They need to sit down with the employees, and the process might take longer than they actually wanted it to take, which means that it causes delays in making decisions. So, autocratic leadership style. So, this leader can make quick decisions because the leader does not ask anyone for opinions, or the leader does not involve anyone in decision making. So, the leader can just wake up and say, this is what we're going to do, and that's what happens. And another advantage or a positive thing about this leadership style is that there is clear and consistent direction from the leader. And the disadvantages of this is tension could arise because the leader is the only one that's making decisions. So everyone else does not have a say, which can raise tension in the workplace. And another disadvantage is that the organization could lose highly skilled and experienced employees. Because if you are an employee and your voice is not heard, you are not given the opportunity to raise your opinions or to suggest some certain things, then that can be very frustrating, and employees may decide to move from that organization to another one where they are going to be valued, because when people are not given chance to make decisions or to speak or to raise their opinions, they feel as if they are not valued in the workplace because it's their leader that is the only person that makes decisions and they do not have a say on it. So when it comes to laissez-faire or free reign, the advantages of this leadership style is that employees are trusted and given the responsibility of making decisions. And another advantage is that employees experience personal growth and development since they have the responsibility of making decisions in the workplace. So the disadvantages is that employees could be hesitant, which will cause them to be slow in making decisions. And also, employees may find it difficult to get fellow members to meet deadlines. And with charismatic leadership style, the advantages is that employees are inspired by the energy and passion of the leader. And also, employees are made to feel valued and appreciated, which causes them to do well in the workplace. Um, the disadvantages of this leadership style is that the leader may advance his own personal interest. And also, another disadvantage is that the organization may be over reliant on the presence of the leader because now the employees are inspired and motivated by the leader. So the transitional leadership style, the advantages is that incentives lead to increased productivity levels of the workers. And employees are aware of the punishment if targets are not met. The disadvantages of this is that employees may feel demoralized if they are punished. And another one is that the health of employees could be negatively affected by increased stress levels, especially when you know that if you don't meet the targets, you are going to be punished. That can cause stress in the workplace. Now we're moving on to look at the three leadership theories. So the leadership theories are different from leadership styles. So leadership theories focuses on the characteristics of the leader that makes them exceptional, whereas leadership styles focus on how leaders manage employees. So we have seen that with leadership styles, the democratic leader has a way of managing the employees. The charismatic leader, the autocratic leader, the transitional leader, they all have different ways of managing employees. So they deal with how they deal with uh, employees. But then with leadership theories, it now focuses on the characteristics of the leader. And leadership theories guide leaders on the different leadership styles that could be adapted. So we have three leadership theories, which is transformational leadership style, which can be adapted by the leader during a period in which the organization would experience radical change. So we have situational leadership style, which the leader can use for a different situation that may occur or that they might be facing in the workplace. And we have leaders and followers, where employees are followers of the leader and the leader leads by example. So, with situational leadership theory, the leader uses different leadership styles based on the circumstances that they might be facing at that time. So, situation, I feel like the topics explain themselves. So, the leader looks at the situation that the organization is dealing with at that time and decide on the perfect leadership style to use in order to achieve the goal or to reach the organization's goals. So the second point is that effective leaders may adapt the leadership style that will ensure that the goals of the organization are met. So transformational theory. So transformation speaks of change. So here it means we are speaking of change. So when there is change in the organization, the leader uses transformational theory in order to achieve the goals. This leadership theory would be adapted by the leader during a period in which the organization is experiencing radical changes. And we have leaders and followers. Employees, as followers of the leader, follow the instructions of the leader and collectively work towards the organization's goal. Leaders allow followers to be creative or innovative and encourage them to explore alternative methods to increase productivity. And leaders lead by example and provide incentives for positive behaviors. Now we are done with management and leadership topic under business ventures. We're moving on to another topic, which is investment, which focuses on securities. So, under securities, you can expect to be asked questions on functions of Johannesburg Securities Exchange, factors that could be considered when making an investment decisions, types of investment opportunities and risk factors, and forms of investment. So these are the things that you should look at when you are studying investment securities. And also understanding simple interest and compound interest. So, with simple interest and compound interest, you can be given a scenario and they will ask you a question that calculate simple interest for this person or for this company, calculate compound interest for this person or this company. So I will show you how to calculate simple and compound interest. So once you know that it's easy to calculate simple and compound interest, the only thing that you need to understand is the formula that you're the formula for simple interest and also for compound interest. If you know the formula, you are done. So what you can do when you are studying for your short questions is to go through the key concepts. So under investment securities, you must study all the key concepts and understand them. So you should know investment, what investment is, what an investor is, what a risk is, what is interest, what is dividends, what is Johannesburg Security Exchange, what is a share, what is capital market or securities market, what is long-term investment, what is short-term investment, what is fixed rate, what is bankruptcy, and what is liquidation. So these are the things that when you know them, every time when they ask you a question on investment, already you know that, okay, in investment, we have short-term investment, we have long-term investment. A short-term investment is an investment that is less than 1 year. A long-term investment is an investment that is more than 3 years. So with knowing these key concepts, I believe that they will remind you of um, the topic that you've done on securities, which I believe that you've done these things during the term. So I cannot go in details on all the topics because this is something that you did throughout the term. So for me to come and try and do it in an hour or in 30 minutes will be impossible. So this is more of a revision of something that you've done. So in term three, I would try to post more of the lessons so that when we come to exam time already you have more understanding of these topics and we just do a revision like now. So I'm going to show you how to calculate the simple and the compound interest using this scenario. So in your exam, they can bring any scenario and say, calculate or answer the following questions. So the scenario here says, uh, Kelly wants to invest 50,000 in fixed deposit for 2 years. Stanford Bank offered her 12% interest rate per annum, and Capital Bank offers her 12% compounded interest per annum. So, question one says calculate the amount of interest that Kelly will receive after 2 years if she invests with Stanford Bank. Okay. So the important thing here is for you to know the formula for simple interest and also to know the formula for compound interest. So the formula for simple interest is that interest equals P, which is the principal or original amount of the investment. And in the scenario, the original amount of the investment is 50,000. Let me try to find a CASA so that a laser so that I can be able to show you. So the original amount is 50,000. So the important thing here is to know the formula. I believe that when you know the formula, you are done. You're going to get your answers correctly. But once you don't know the formula, then there is no way you're going to calculate correctly. So the formula for simple interest, it's simple because it's simple interest. So the formula for simple interest is interest equals to, remember, we are calculating interest. So it's interest equals to P, which is the principal or original amount of the investment, times R, which is the interest rate. So the original amount is 50,000. The interest rate here is 12%. And T stand for the period of the investment, which is it's the years. So here we have 2 years. It's an investment for 2 years. So now you know that your formula is the original amount, it's the interest, and also it's the period of investment for simple interest. So let's calculate now the interest or the simple interest for Kelly. So investment equals P times R times T. And then P, we said, is the original amount, which is 50,000. R, it's the rate, which is 12%. And then T, it's the number of years or the period of investment. So you start by calculating the original amount and the rate. So you're going to say 50,000 times 0.12. You would 0.12, it's your 12%. So what you have to do is to say 12 divided by 100, it's going to give you 0.12. And then you will say 50,000 times 0.12, and it will give you 6,000. Then you say 6,000 times 2, which is the number of years, and it will give you 12,000, and you have your answer. Simple as that. So once you know the formula, you know the answer. Like, it's easy to get the answer when you know the formula. If you forget the formula, forget getting the answer right. Yeah. Now we're going to look at the formula for calculating compound interest. So the formula for compound interest is that interest equals to P, which is the principal or the original amount. And also here, I stand for interest rate, and N stand for the number of years or the number of investment periods, and this minus P. P stands for principal amount. And then we move on to calculate compound interest for Kelly. So P times in brackets 1 plus I, which is interest rate, and the number of years, minus P, which is the principal amount or the original amount. So the principal amount is 50,000. I, it's 12%, which is the interest rate. And we're going to divide that interest rate by 100, which is going to give us 0.12. And the number of years is 2 years. So here you're going to now write the original amount, which is 50,000 times 1 plus 0.12, and then you write the number of years and then the original amount again. So when you calculate here, you're going to start by calculating what's in the brackets. So for your second step, you're going to say 50,000 times, and then you're going to say 1 plus 0.12, which is going to be 1 plus 1.12. Remember, we're calculating what's in the bracket first. So when you go to the next step, you're going to now say 1.12 times 1.12. Remember, we have 2 years here. That's why now here we are going to say 1.12 times 1.12, because we are calculating what's in the bracket first. So if it was 3 years here, it means it was going to be 1.12 times 1.12 times 1.12. So now that you're done calculating what was in the brackets, you are now going to start calculating the first two, which is 1,000 times 1.2544, which is going to give you 62,720 minus 50,000. And you will get 12,720, and that is your interest for compound interest. Moving on to investment insurance. So on investment insurance, these are some of the questions that you can expect under investment insurance, which is they can ask you the types of compulsory insurance, which is unemployment insurance fund, road accident fund, and road accident benefit scheme, and also compensation for occupational injuries and diseases fund. So those are compulsory insurance. And they can ask you to explain the different types of benefit paid out by the unemployment insurance fund, and also types of compulsory insurance from given scenarios, where they will give you a scenario and tell you and ask you what is which compulsory insurance is working or is mentioned in the scenario. And they can also ask you about the changes in legislation from time to time. So also here, I will advise you to go through the key concepts so that you understand as a revision of the topic. So that when you are asked anything that comes under that topic, you know that you understand all these key concepts. You understand what insurance is. You understand what assurance is. There is a difference between insurance and assurance. And we have compulsory insurance and non-compulsory insurance. So you can get to learn more on this by going through the topic to see which insurances are compulsory and which insurances are non-compulsory insurance. For example, we have a compulsory insurance, which is unemployment insurance fund. So every employee, they pay unemployment insurance funds. So it's a must. When you are working, they are going to deduct unemployment insurance fund, which means that it is compulsory. You don't have a choice. So with non-compulsory insurances, it means that it's your own decision. You can choose not to take non-compulsory insurance. And you need to understand under insurance, over insurance, market value, risk, and all these other key concepts. As I said, we will not go through all the topics because these are things that we did like throughout the term, so it will be impossible to do it in within an hour. So I want us to go through these questions that are under business ventures, which will help you to understand how they can bring the questions or how they can ask you to answer the questions on short questions that are based on business ventures. So they can ask you, these are just examples of how the structure of the questions may be. It's not like they are going to ask you exactly these questions that you see here. So they can say, name two examples of short term insurance. Or they can say, name two examples of long term insurance. So we're just going to answer this question so that you know how to answer short questions. So for two examples of short questions, you can say it's car insurance and home insurance. So short-term insurance generally speaks of covers for your possessions, and long-term insurance speaks of I can say it's big and life-changing events, which can be a cover for disability or for death. So with short term, it's where you are just covering your possessions, which can be your car, which can be your house, which can be travel insurance. So for 2.2, they say identify the principle of insurance represented by each statement below. So we know that short-term insurance covers your possessions and long-term covers like life-changing events, which can be disability, which can be retirement or death. The first statement says that Peter must prove that he will suffer a financial loss if the insured object is damaged, lost, or ceases to exist. So, what this statement speaks about, it's an object that belongs to Peter, that he knows that if he loses this object or this possession, is going to suffer a financial loss, which means that this is what is a short term insurance, because a short term insurance covers a person's possessions, which can be a car, which can be a house, which means that Peter has insured or must insure his car or house so that if anything happens to his car or his house, he knows that he would not suffer a financial loss. So the second statement says that Norma was honest and disclosed all her details when she applied for an insurance contract. So this can be a long term insurance. Why? Because when a person takes a long term insurance like a life cover or a funeral cover, they have to disclose all the details, which can include the person's health status. Sometimes you can even be required to go and do tests so that the insurance is able to approve or to move forward with your insurance contract. So 2.3 says differentiate between insurance and assurance. So the difference between insurance and assurance is that with insurance provides risk coverage for an event that might or might not happen, like flood, theft, fire, or disease. Let's say that you've covered your car and then you lose your car, they steal your car, the insurance covers that. You have a house and your house burns down. You have a business, your business burns down, or your business gets destroyed because of flood. Then insurance covers that. On the other hand, assurance, it provides risk coverage for events that are certain in nature, such as death. So it will be assurance can be life insurance, funeral covers. So we can say that insurance can be compared to short term insurance, and assurance can be associated with long term insurance. Since a short term insurance covers someone's possessions, and then a long term insurance, it covers life changing events. So we move on to 2.4. So here we have a scenario, and then the scenario says the management at Bismarck Properties wants to introduce a new product line. They requested employees to give their input during a round table discussion. Moving on to 2.4.1, identify the leadership style applied by the business, which is BP. So the leadership style applied here, it's remember you have to read the scenario. So the scenario says that they requested employees to give their input during a round table discussions, which means that this leadership style allows employees to have an input, to be part of decision making process, which means that the leadership style here, it's democratic leadership style. And then 2.4.2, it says suggest situations in which the applied leadership style in 2.4.1 can be applied in the workplace. This means that once you get the leadership style applied here wrong, it means all your answer for 2.4.2 is also going to be wrong. So now that we know that the leadership style in 2.4.1, it's democratic leadership style, now we can suggest how this leadership style can be applied in the workplace. And one, remember the leader allows the employees to be involved, to have a voice, to have a say, to be involved in the decision making. So we can say that the leader requires a different perspective on issues, and experienced employees could provide valuable information. So the leader believes that the people or the employees have something of value that they can contribute. That's why they include them in the decision making, so that they can hear different perspective from different employees. For another point, how this can be applied, we can say that teamwork is promoted and the input of employees are appreciated. So this democratic leadership style can be applied by promoting teamwork in the workplace and also valuing the inputs of the employees and appreciating the inputs of employees. And also, we can say that employees that are experienced or who are experts in their chosen fields are able to perform well in their roles because they know that they are valued and their opinions are valued in the workplace. So the leader knows his limitations and is open to new ideas and innovation or innovative thinking from the employees. So basically, when you know what democratic leadership style is all about, you'll be able to answer these questions. So by knowing the different types of leadership styles and know how the leaders in each leadership style lead or manage people will allow you to be able to answer all this. So 2.5 says discuss the role of personal attitude in successful leadership. Here you can say that if a leader has like a good attitude or a bad attitude, that can influence the success or the failure of the business, which means that a leader with good attitude will ensure that uh, the business is successful, but a leader with bad attitude is going to bring about failure in the business. And then you can also say that leaders must know their strengths and weaknesses to apply their leadership styles effectively. For example, a democratic leadership or a democratic leader, they know their limitation, and therefore, when they know that no, in this area I'm not good, they always go to their employees and say, no, I know this particular employee, their role is like this, and they are good in this position, and they are able to use and benefit from those employees. And also, you can say that leaders' attitude may influence employees or teams' thought and behavior. So, the attitude of the leader can also influence the behavior of the people that they are leading. And another one, you can say that a positive attitude is crucial for good leadership because good leaders will stay with their task regardless of its difficulties or challenges. So basically, here you are just going to talk about the attitude of a leader, how it can influence the business negatively or positively. And then we move on to 2.6. So I've already done with you compound and simple interest. Since you know the formula for calculating compound interest and simple interest, then this is not going to be a problem because you have seen that once you know the formula, you'll be able to calculate um, compound or simple interest. And then here, you just have to elaborate on the meaning of compound interest. They can ask you to elaborate on the meaning of simple interest. You see here, the question is asking you to it has to do with compound interest. That's why they are asking you to elaborate on the meaning of compound interest. If the scenario here was about simple interest, possibly they were going to ask you to first elaborate on the meaning of simple interest. So basically, simple interest is an interest earned on the original amount only, but compound interest is earned on the original amount invested, and the interest earned in the preceding years is added to the original amount invested. So, simple interest, you only receive the original amount or the interest on the original amount. But with compound interest, the interest that you receive from the original amount, it's also invested again, and you also do what? You also earn from the interest. which means that a simple interest will give you less money compared to compound interest. And then 2.6.2, they say calculate the interest that Jumbo Enterprise will receive after 3 years. So here it means they expect you to do what? To calculate compound interest. So it means you're going to use the formula for compound interest, and you calculate the interest for this company. And then 2.7, advise businesses on the following factor that should be considered when making investment decisions. We have return on investment. So return on investment is the amount of money the investor earns in addition to the original investment amount. So let's say you have invested 10,000 and you get interest of 3,000, which means that you're going to get 13,000. So that 13, the 3,000, it's a return on investment. So risk is the doubt or uncertainty that exists regarding the extent of any gains or losses that an investor could make. So by knowing that, you'll be able to answer all these questions. So I want us to move on. Another topic under business ventures is presentations and data responses. So on this also, you can just look at the factors that can be considered when preparing for presentation, the areas of improvement in the next presentation, the impact of 6 visual aids. So I will not go deep into explaining all this because I've done this an essay. I've answered an essay on presentation, which can give you more details on that on the video that I did on possible essay questions that you can expect under business ventures. So also on this topic, you can go through the key concepts so that you understand it better. And then lastly, the topic that you can look into is the forms of ownership. And also you can check the key concept for a better understanding. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, subscribe, and also click on the notification button so that you can be notified every time when we upload a new video. Thank you, and all the best with your exam.